to impeach and convict Donald Trump, bar him from running for office. It was to eliminate conservatives from the political arena. Eliminate conservatism. That is the play. How does it play itself out? Henninger's foreshadowing of what was to come post-impeachment 2.0, starting to. Two House Democrats from California, Representatives Anna Eshoo and Jerry McInerney, sending a letter to the CEOs of comm companies demanding to know what they're going to do to police unwelcome speech. In other words, what they're going to do to deplatform anything that they decree a conservative news outlet. And of course, now layer in here anatomy of the purge, layer in the experts, layer in the calls for safety and truth. The expert, in this case, the predicate for the letter, a Harvard academic, a Harvard law professor named Yochai Benkler, who is a loyal Elizabeth Warren donor, who cooked up this research to provide the basis for the letter to advance the purge. The research, listen to this, essentially its summary from the good professor. Our analysis underscores not only the enormous power of right-wing media, but also their distinctiveness from left-wing media. The conservative network of outlets, with Fox at its center, feeds a large minority of Americans narratives that confirm their biases, fills them with outrage at their political opponents, and isolates them from views that contradict these narratives. It is a closed propaganda feedback loop. Left-leaning media, whatever the goals of some of their members, have failed to produce anything similar, our analysis found. Oh, did it, Professor? So, one, you have to accept the premise that the dominant force on the media landscape is conservative. And two, that it is only conservative media outlets that come to the table with a particular worldview that are doing narrative telling rather than news reporting, create an echo chamber. No echo chamber at CNN, no echo chamber at MSNBC, the New York Times, the Amazon Post, and so on and so forth. But this is the predicate to the purge, and the Wall Street Journal opined on this. Imagine if a pair of Donald Trump's allies in Congress had sent a letter to cable company CEOs in 2017, blasting CNN and other progressive media outlets and asking why their content is still broadcast. Imagine a GOP-run committee in Congress staged a hearing on the societal menace of fake news and the need for government and business to rein in the hostile press, hostile to the Trump administration, because that's exactly what's now gone on from the Biden administration and his allies in Congress. It's really remarkable stuff.
What was the guy's name? Could you say it again? The professor?
Yochai Benkler.
Yeah, let's stop taking advice from guys named Yochai. Okay, how about we just start there?
Okay, for more on this topic, and not just what is being purged in terms of outlets, but what is being purged in terms of content on outlets that are not conservative-oriented, of course. Of course, that's happening. The elimination of history, which is something new, as we discussed a little bit yesterday with Lance Morrill. Pleased to be joined by Maxim Lott. He's executive producer at Stossel TV, creator of electionbettingodds.com. Maxim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Your reaction to what we are seeing transpire, and the dots that are connecting with respect to how the left is going about trying to eliminate dissent.
Yeah, so you mentioned also the changing of history, and I dug into what's happening on Wikipedia, and I noticed that the socialism and communism articles have no mention anymore of the mass killings in communist regimes. They don't mention the Soviet Union, Mao's China, Castro's Cuba, Venezuela. None of that's on the socialism or communism pages. And these are big pages, 28,000 words, and they don't mention it. They mention lots of other history. They mention that some of the great technological advances in the 20th century were done in the Soviet Union. They don't mention the mass famines, the mass political purges that killed millions. So there does seem to be a kind of rewriting of history there. And also to the point of what you were just saying, Wikipedia has downgraded lots of websites that they consider right-wing, like the New York Post. Ever since they broke the correct Hunter Biden scandal, they've been considered unreliable on Wikipedia. You can't use them as a source.
So, Maxim, let's not get caught up on little details like, the mass murder and whatnot. Before the government went into gambling and drug dealing, neighborhoods like the one I grew up in were very involved in it. So I like it when bookies are wrong. However, in this election cycle, when you see what happened to the gaming, the election gaming sites from 1 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning, and you look at the improbability of a low-flow Joe victory, do you think that there will be some future outcry for elections to stop being frauded and stolen, or will the bookies just keep taking it on the chin?
That's a good question. You know, the betting odds follow kind of whatever is happening. So one person is taking it on the chin, but the other bettors are making money. So I would say the bettors are just going to factor in that there will be fraud if there is fraud. So expect to see Democratic odds higher in the next round if they think that'll happen.
Well, just on that topic, there's a good piece at American Greatness by Michael Anton, Publius Ducius Mus, if you remember, Flight 93 election author, and then he went to work as a speechwriter for President Trump for a time. Why do defenders of the 2020 election require his agreement, as he asked the question? Why must I agree with their characterization of what happened in 2020? Why am I not allowed to ask any questions? Why are they so adamant in terms of, again, eliminating dissent and demanding agreement? And he suggests that the purpose of voting today is to give a democratic veneer, small d, to an undemocratic regime, not to give the people a say in the direction of their government. And that veneer also requires the elimination of dissent in these other areas. And so I wonder, I mean, you know, John Stossel's done great investigative work for decades and decades now, but I wonder how concerned you are and how concerned we should be over at Salem Media and AM 560 about the coming purge of other platforms too, because, you know, this sort of conversation we're having is dangerous according to Democrat members of Congress.
Yeah, I would say I have not myself, you know, investigated the fraud to have any level of confidence on it, but people clearly should be able to speculate about it and publicly make statements. You know, Stacey Abrams, just for example, I believe is still saying the election was stolen from her in Georgia 2 years ago, and she has a book that Amazon promotes about saving democracy while she says that. So it, you know, contesting an election is not anti-democratic. So people should be allowed to speak.
And you know, I mean, just your affiliation with John Stossel and Stossel TV, your perspective on you know what you and your colleagues are seeing as this plays itself out.
Yeah, well, again, the election. I'm not convinced the election.
I'm not talking about the election. I'm talking about the purge. I'm talking about the elimination of dissent.
Right. So that seems to be a big problem, in my opinion. You have, you know, lots of people getting kicked off social media. It seems like Parler is back up, and that's good news that there is competition again in that sphere. But you know, people need to be allowed to speak. We need to somehow get back to a culture of tolerance in this country. Right-wingers should be able to speak. Left-wingers, everyone. There is some positive stuff on that. You see some left-wing intellectuals like Glenn Greenwald or Matt Iglesias saying, you know, let's let people speak. We do need free speech. So hopefully that wing will eventually win out on the left.
Yeah,
so we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you were talking about what Wikipedia is eliminating. How about what school systems are eliminating? San Francisco school board that would move to rename all these schools is going through a purge of names. It doesn't even matter if their assessment of the namesake of a particular school is correct. For example, Ed Morrissey, our colleague over at hotair.com, reported this week they put a school named Lowell School on the purge list. They're going to rename it because James Russell Lowell, one of the fireside poets, who's by the way, a worthy designee as a namesake, had some conflicted views of the abolition of slavery. Well, it turns out that school was not named after the poet Lowell. It was named after Lowell, Massachusetts, because of a prominent person from Lowell, Massachusetts in the community back when, back at the turn of the century. The response to the school board was, we're going to rename it anyway. It doesn't matter. Even the underlying truth of their criticism doesn't matter in terms of the manufacture of history from day one in real time. So yes, the elimination of understanding for younger people of the ravages of socialism and communism in the Soviet bloc and elsewhere, including in real time in places like Venezuela. But also the underlying criticism doesn't even need to be true. Oh yeah, okay, well it turns out we were wrong, but we're going to go ahead anyway. I mean that is a new place for America.
Yeah, one thing to note, the San Francisco School Board, one of the renamings they did, which was a mistake, they got that from Wikipedia, actually, it turned out. So it's all kind of intertwined and feeds on itself. A lot of these left-wing journalism outlets also cite Wikipedia. If they don't know anything about some particular group, maybe the first thing they do is type it into Wikipedia, and you can often tell that reading the article. So it's all intertwined. And the bias on Wikipedia, I think, is worth people knowing about because it's gotten a lot worse in the last couple of years. So it's worth people knowing that if you're on Wikipedia, just take it, A, with a grain of salt, and B, if it's on anything political, know that they might have just left out half of the argument or half of the history.
Maxim, I have a question for you. I'm a big fan of Stossel TV. I love John Stossel. I have the alert on my phone. And I just want to know for future viewing, do you have a policy against fondling yourself, or have you accepted the teachers union of it's yours and you can play with it? What exactly is the policy at Stossel TV?
I don't know what the teachers union policy is there, but we covered the teachers unions a lot. And they've got some interesting stuff going on where they, it's kind of
Yeah, I can understand why you're struggling to pivot yourself out of that nonsense. He's referencing some guy that got caught pleasuring himself from Montgomery, Maryland, on a Zoom history class you probably saw. But anyway,
we have covered that, and right now they're giving in Fairfax teachers at the front of the line for vaccines, and we still can't go back to work. It's not safe enough. So they got vaccinated, and they still don't want to work. So, and they protect teachers who, there was also a story we covered where the teacher was so obese that he was urinating in class, and having students take the bottle out to the bathroom, which is just horrible. And they couldn't fire him because of the union rule.
Of course not. Of course not. Put him on administrative leave while they review whether or not that's consistent with the school policy. Yeah. Maxim Lott, executive producer at Stossel TV, creator of electionbettingodds.com as well. Maxim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great. Good
Join
talking
us on
to you guys.
A pleasure to have you, and he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This rain and snow has to go somewhere. Hopefully not in your basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer of Permaseal. With this melting snow, many homeowners are discovering new leaks in their foundations. Others are being painfully reminded that the leaks they experienced last year didn't fix themselves. Common issues to look for are leaking wall cracks, wet floors, leaks from the top of the foundation or window wells, bowing or sheared walls, and the excessive running of your sump pump. For a permanently dry basement and a healthy home, you know who to call. Permaseal. 800-421-SEAL. For over 40 years, it's a name you can rely on for permanent repairs. That's 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net. Ask about our zero-interest financing for up to 60 months or a 10% discount off any new proposal up to $1,000.
Your best for being better, Permaseal.
Are you aware that AmericanEagle.com has been designing websites since the internet started? Do you know they've helped companies large and small achieve results that they themselves thought impossible? Today, a well-designed website is an art form. There are no cookie-cutter solutions. At AmericanEagle.com, they are proud to design and develop a website that fits their client's business. Their experience shows that a well-designed website with the client's business at the forefront will bring an excellent return on their investment. Clients, from startups to medium and large businesses, have come to rely on them for a full line of website services, from consulting and integration to digital strategy and marketing, hosting and maintenance. AmericanEagle.com is the technology partner you need if you're looking for online success. They work with all kinds of companies in nearly every industry. Give the team at AmericanEagle.com a call today, 1-877-WEB-NOW-1. Let them help you achieve online results and success. AmericanEagle.com, that number again, 1-877-WEB-NOW and the number 1, 1-877-WEB-NOW-1.
Spills happen every day in your workplace, anywhere gasoline, diesel, machine crude, or cooking oils are used. These spills not only disrupt workflow production, but are hazardous to employees and the public. You need a team that can come in and clean up that spill and get your crew back to work and remove the ugly, unsightly stains. You need Cabino Environmental Field Services, an environmental response team to the rescue. Using sustainable, all-natural green products, they mitigate the spills and extract the stain from the pavement. The only byproduct is the used oil absorbent that gets recycled as a fuel source. This is one of the most economical, sustainable, and green ways to manage an oil spill. For stains on your residential garage floor, patio around the barbecue, parking lot, or pavement around your fuel pumps, Cabino Environmental is available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Call 815-373-5176 or click on Emergency Fuel and Oil Cleanup online at CabinoEnvironmental.com.
This is attorney Stephen Leahy. This isn't the first crisis we faced together. Back in '08, business professionals in trouble sought help from bankruptcy attorneys, loan modification attorneys, foreclosure defense attorneys,